to Learn Jazz Bass with Matt Rubicki. I'm glad that you're here as always. We are continuing our series of essential bass lines, and here's one that might be a little bit obscure, but it's really fun to play and not too difficult at all. This is from a Ralph Burns arrangement of Stompin' at the Savoy that was played by Woody Herman. The bass player is Chubby Jackson, and what's really fun about this is that it's a simple line, but it's really compelling, and it adds, I think, some depth to a pretty simple tune, Stompin' at the Savoy, and really works also in small group settings, which we're usually in, right? So definitely fun to play this, and when you find somebody else that knows it, it's really cool to add, you know, when you're calling tunes at a jam session or whatever. So Chubby Jackson was an interesting guy, a very fine bass player, and he won an award, maybe I think Downbeat Critics Award or something. And K Bass, the maker, said, "We're going to make you a bass." He said, "Add a string to it." So they added a fifth, a high C string. So he was, and this became the Chubby Jackson model. You can still find them today. I've never played one in person, but I know I've heard they're very fun to play. And Chubby was an interesting guy. He advocated for the baby bass when it first came out. He played with Louis Armstrong, of course, Woody Herman, Lionel Hampton. He also had a children's show at some point where he played bass, and it was like a show for kids. So it's an interesting guy and worth checking out. So this part that we're playing isn't something that Chubby came up with himself, but rather something Ralph Burns wrote. Stompin' at the Savoy isn't in your repertoire already. Be sure to put it in there. It's a lot of fun to play. It's not too hard. Lots of people know it. It's fun to play at jam sessions, so I naturally swing in tune. And adding this little line to it is going to add even more sort of texture to the performance. So it is starts out in the segment that we heard with Chubby walking and then playing this A flat. Sort of this lead in to the line itself. The line itself is pretty diatonic. At the beginning, this first part of the phrase starts and ends with A flat and stays in D flat major notes. And so it's got this sort of almost like an A flat dominant sound to it because it starts and ends in A flat, and so it could be maybe A flat sus. So it could sort of be thought of like putting an A flat pedal underneath the harmony there, which is D flat major. Nonetheless, I mean, you can also just think of it as a line in D flat major. So nothing too complicated at all. Let me do it slowly for you. I'm going to come a little bit closer and turn a little bit so you can see my fingers. I tripped on my own feet there. So doing it very slow, it starts on the and of one, the phrase does. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So doing it slowly again, we're starting and ending on A flat. I'm fingering it in half position because I don't trust myself, especially on camera, to start here out of nowhere and make sure this A flat is in tune. I am working on that. However, so nonetheless, you can play it where you want. Of course, if you're playing electric, you can start here. Do it there, it's fine. Nonetheless, I'm going to start in half position. Just going down in thirds, sort of. Not sure how the intonation was there. Nonetheless, that's the first part. Now this next little bit of the line, I want to say three things about. The first is that there is what I hear and what I think Doc Morgan heard. Oh, I didn't mention Doc Morgan, oh my gosh. Doc Morgan, Doc Morgan is an amazing educator, great pianist in Texas, and has taught maybe hundreds of truly, I mean, we're talking names you know, he has taught them in high school. And so this is a really special guy all around and a wonderful person too. He brought this to my attention. For some reason, I can't remember why. I think we were playing it together somewhere. He said, "Hey, do you know this intro?" I didn't, so he sort of hit me to it. What he hears and what I hear is not quite what I think the horns are doing when you slow it down. I did not have access to seeing the written music of this, the actual arrangement. So if anybody can shed some light on that, please mention in the comments. So to this part of the line, I hear starting on the end of 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But if you listen carefully, the horns are actually playing and 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1 and 2, like that. So there's not an eighth note on the and or 1. On the recording at speed, it sounds like there's something happening there. I mean, it could just be the drums. I'm not exactly sure, but there's a lot of people in a big band, right? So somebody's tonguing something or swallowing something or ghosting something. So I like this version. It also feels a little bit better to me to put that eighth note there, or at least to ghost that eighth note there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So nothing very hard there. This next part of the line is an E flat minor 9 chord, an arpeggio straight up. And the chord here is an E flat minor. So nothing complicated there. But the notes would be E flat, G flat, B flat, D flat, F is the 9. You can of course finger it here in the middle. Just a little bit of rhythm there at the end with those eighth notes and the articulations give it a sense of interest. This is followed by a single little sort of button of an E natural, which I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I think that E natural is implying an A flat 7 sharp 5 there. The E natural is raised up from E flat, which is the natural fifth of A flat. And this is a dominant chord here in the song. It's A flat 7. So playing an E natural there gives it some color. It has this sort of augmented sound. But it's just temporary. Nonetheless, fun part of the line. Oh, let me stop for a second there. I knew there was something I forgot. On the E flat, let's go back a second. On the E flat minor 9. Right? E flat, G flat, B flat, D flat, F. Chubby on the recording plays E flat, F. At first I thought he was just playing the G flat flat, but in the second time around, if you really listen, he's playing F. What's interesting is if you think about it, Ralph Burns may have intended that. Sometimes those rubs, even the bass against the horns like that, gives just another texture to that moment. So the horns are playing G flat and the bass is playing F. Usually pretty ugly, and if you broke it down and suspended that moment in time, it might be an ugly sound, but in the moment it gives this little grit, which is good. So I'll leave it up to you what you want to play. I like to play the thing that the horn is playing. However, next time I do this, now that I put a little more time into looking at this tune, I might play the F just to see what it sounds like. He plays. So that's one thing. And then we went to the E natural. Whoops. A flat 7 sharp 5. And then this last part of the phrase is another arpeggio just played up, which is D flat major 9. So we have major 9 as opposed to minor 9. That's D flat, F, A flat, C, and then E flat. The horns play that E flat at the end there, staccato. They play it short. Chubby plays it long. He lets it go into the next part of the next bar. He goes in the first part of the next bar. And I like that too. Adds a little bit more interest. It doesn't sound so sort of tight and regimented. It has a little bit more fluidity. So I will leave it to your preferences as to how you want to play these little differences. But of course, you know me, I can't let it go without saying exactly what was played and then trying to, of course, here offer what I think was intended. I don't know if some of this was a mistake or again, if Ralph Burns intended some of this stuff. I'm going to go back two times there. I forgot to mention one other thing that Chubby does differently, and that is, remember this part where we're talking about whether there's an and of 2 or not. So I said there's what I hear, and then there's what the horns actually play, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. F, G flat, G, up, G flat, A flat, B flat. Chubby plays F, G flat, G natural. My guess is perhaps he was just trying to, move his hands or whatever, but he does it both times. And so either that's written in there or that was just, he didn't care that it's supposed to be a G flat. I'm not exactly sure. But again, that's another moment of a little bit of rub that is good for the ear, for interest at least. So knowing those things hopefully influences how you play it. I prefer this combination of trying to sound like the horns for most of it and then adding that little extra eighth note. 1, 2, 3, So hopefully you find this interesting and fun to play. I do, again, recommend that you check out and add Stompin the Savoy to your repertoire if you don't already have it. Thanks for joining me. I hope it was helpful, and look for that link below for a free PDF. Always remember, straight ahead and strive for tone.